It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason. Welcome back to another episode of the Slate Night Podcast. Today we got a very special episode. It is our reaction to the 2025 Oscar nominations for the 2024 movies. A lot of things to talk about. A lot of things in a lot of different categories. Yeah. This is one of Mason and I's favorite days of the year.
Yeah.
We are one of the few normal people that get up at 7:30 in the morning to watch the nominations themselves. Mm-hmm. Everybody else just kind of looks at them like normal people, but we're like, you know what? We're part of the industry.
Check Variety later on that day, and they're like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
Amelia Perez got how many nominations?
Yeah, we'll get into all that stuff. We're so excited to talk about it, though. But wanted to start off by just mentioning a few movies that got no nominations today. Some of them surprising, some were
Thankful for.
Some we're thankful for.
One specifically we're very thankful for.
Yeah, which I don't even have on the list here, but I'll add it in.
No, it's there. It's there. I see.
Oh, do it?
Yeah.
Do I? Oh, yeah. So starting off with some Hard Truths was getting a few acting nominations, possibly. Baby Girl, which we're both so thankful we don't have to watch.
Sweet. It's no longer potential.
Take it off the list.
It's gone.
Take it off the list.
Deleted.
The Last Showgirl.
Which I actually saw, so
yeah.
I'm not devastated that it's not nominated for anything, but yeah, to not see it after it getting kind of some buzz pretty late in the game.
Yeah, that one, The Room Next Door, Pedro Almodovar's movie, maybe some screenplay, acting stuff it was up for, nothing there. The Piano Lesson, Daniel Deadweiler, we'll talk about that later as well. All We Imagine Is Light, which, very surprisingly, India did not nominate for their submission for Best International Feature, so it couldn't even be nominated in this category at all, because they didn't pick it, but it's very popular, but didn't get any nominations today. And then Challengers, which Mason, I know, is
thrilled.
Absolutely
I'm
thrilled.
So thrilled. It does not deserve any acting nomination. It doesn't. I said it in my review. This movie deserves no nominations for literally anything. You can argue the score, and I say the score is good, not in this movie. So I'm thrilled by that. I knew that was kind of like the one potential of it taking something would be a best original score. And like, you know what, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, I'm a big fan, but I'm kind of very happy that it didn't get a nomination. That was kind of like my big win for the day.
There we go.
Yeah.
Last couple, excuse me, I've had this fucking cough forever. It sucks. Last couple that I wanted to mention. Furiosa was kind of in some of the technical short lists. I was hoping it would get something, but it didn't get in there. And then Civil War, which I think we both selfishly were like, this should be in more categories.
Cinematography, I think.
If it would have been released in November or December, I think it would be, but did not make the cut this year. So those aren't all the movies that were kind of in the race, but just a few we wanted to shout out that got no nominations today.
Yeah, and there are a couple of awards that we're going to start off with. As we get into some of the more major awards, me and Corey will have a little bit more in-depth thoughts as to what we think, what we like, what we wish would have gotten nominated, what we wish was taken out potentially, if there was any snubs, which I really only have one for this whole award nomination list. But before we get into those bigger awards where we're a little bit more in-depth, there are some of those more smaller awards which are kind of the lesser-known ones that you don't really hear about until nomination day, and you hear, best documentary short, best documentary features. But like I said, we haven't really seen any of these, so we don't really have the biggest opinions, and we can't really share much thought on these nominations aside from the excitement that these are getting nominated. I think a lot of these shorts are coming from uprising directors and filmmakers and people that are working really hard to get their work out there. So I think that's really inspiring, and that's one of my favorite parts of the Oscars is showing that love for film and kind of how widespreading that can be. But like I said, we haven't seen these, so hopefully with this list of new nominations for this upcoming award ceremony, this has created a lot of homework for me and Corey. But to start off with best documentary short, nominees are Death by Numbers, I Am Ready Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Nominations for best documentary feature: Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to Coup d'etat, tried my best, Sugar Cane. Nominations for Best Live Action Short: Alian, Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. And the nominees for Best Animated Short: Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck!
Exclamation
point. Yeah, so we haven't seen any of these. I'm really excited. The one thing that I try to do every year is watch as many nominees for basically any award going into the award ceremony, because me and Corey always fill out ballots, and we usually form some sort of bet on who's going to win, like what the person wins. So I always try and beat Corey, but I feel like this is usually a blind spot in terms of like the awards that I always am like on the day of. I'm like, I just need to go with the one I've heard of. I haven't seen any of these, so I really want to try and make it to a theater, because some theaters around here will do like a big kind of chunk marathon screening of a lot of these shorts. So I kind of want to make it to those just so I can get a lot of those kind of taken care of and under the belt, and ready for the actual award show in early March.
Yeah.
But moving on into the major awards, Corey, do you want to talk about animated feature?
Yeah. Also just wanted to shout out quick all the filmmakers in the short categories and documentaries. They put in a lot of good work, and I feel like those films don't get discussed as much. So shout out to everybody nominated. That's a huge moment in their life, and that's fucking awesome. So
congrats on a nomination. That's insane.
And like Mason said, we'll try and catch a lot of those. I agree. I want to be better this year about watching those movies. So into some of the bigger awards, we have Best Animated Feature. Nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. These five I feel like have kind of been the five for the past couple weeks, where I'm like, no real big surprises here. In terms of favorites, I feel like Flow and The Wild Robot are kind of the front runners here. Something that personally I think both of us would have loved to have seen is Transformers 1 to sneak in.
Yeah.
Because that movie's great, the animation's great, it was surprising. But yeah, I have not seen Flow, Memoir of a Snail, or Wallace and Gromit yet, but definitely going to try and watch all those. I think right now I'd maybe pick Wild Robot to win, but we'll see.
Yeah. Out of what I've seen, so I haven't seen Memoir of a Snail or Flow, and those are like the two I feel like since early 2024 I heard about, like, oh, these are likely going to be in the conversation for Best Animated Feature. So, and now Flow, with kind of the pull it's having, a lot of like the momentum I feel like is behind it. So I'm pretty eager to get out and see that one. Out of the ones I've seen, Wild Robot is just flat out my favorite animation film I've seen so far this year. I get that there's still movies like Flow and Memoir of a Snail I need to catch up on, but I would love it if The Wild Robot could sneak off with a win for this, just because I think on every level that movie works. Inside Out 2, I feel like it's mostly what's been talked about is this 2-horse race between Wild Robot and Flow, but I'm like, I feel like you can't sleep on like the other ones. Like, I think sad to say it, the movie with the like smallest chance of winning to me is Wallace and Gromit, which I'm happy to see it nominated. I love stop motion. I just don't feel like there's a lot of buzz there for that to kind of get it the win. But
it's very interesting. I feel like in the last, like, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, it hasn't just been Disney dominating this as far as winning.
Yeah.
Or even like the big movies, like last year Boy and the Heron was an upset win. So it's just stuff that kind of more international, or some of the smaller animated movies are winning. So this one I think is a very interesting category.
Yeah, excited to see kind of how it shakes out. Again, immediately once these nominations come out, it just creates homework, which I'm not mad about. I love having my homework in life now is just watching movies. Thrilled by that. Moving into the best international.
We're drinking some wine here, by the way,
and it's super late at night.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But best international feature: I'm Still Here from Brazil, The Girl with the Needle from Denmark, Emilia Perez, France, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Germany, and Flow from Latvia. Some potential conversation and questions arising around the movie Kneecap not getting a nomination. That was another foreign or an international feature that I feel like had a lot of kind of buzz going into awards nominations and stuff like that. So no Kneecap, but that I think from what I have seen, it seems like pretty solid top 5 for international features for what was submitted. Corey, are there any standouts here for you? Anything that you're really eager to see?
Yeah, I always like checking out the international movies. I remember like a couple years ago, I didn't plan on watching it, but I saw Argentina in 1985, which I think was either last season or the season before, but really, really good movie. And it's just something that I wouldn't have watched if it wasn't nominated for an Oscar. So that's stuff I feel like for both of us where we just get exposed to these things. And especially from other countries too, because we're just, obviously they're not playing here as much. So I think this one Emilia Perez, obviously a big contender, and I'm Still Here, obviously a Best Picture nominee, which we'll get to later. But yeah, interesting. Like I mentioned before, All We Imagine Is Light from India. I think that could have potentially won this category if they had submitted that. And I feel like the last couple of years, like they didn't submit this one and they didn't submit RRR as their nominee. So I don't know. They I feel like they missed out on a couple potential Oscars here.
I will say I kind of dislike the overlap that kind of happens with both international feature and animated feature, and then what plays into Best Picture noms. And by having some of these movies have some overlap with other awards, and like not to get ahead of ourselves or talk too much about Best Picture noms, but I'm Still Here carries into that conversation as well as Emilia Perez. And it's like, well, if you're putting those in Best Picture, then are you automatically saying that these are the best two international features? So it's just like a lot of deductive reasoning where I'm like, all right, so it's a 2-horse race automatically almost, and you have Flow already in Best Animated Feature. So where does that fall in or play into that kind of dynamic between those films? I'm stoked to see I'm Still Here. So watching the nomination announcement this morning, I had it pulled up on YouTube on my work computer, and I also had the Instagram live of the Academy pulled up on my phone because that was actually a little bit ahead of the YouTube. That was it had a little bit of a delay to it, so I'm like, I need to see it as soon as possible when things are getting announced. So I watched it off my phone, and as soon as I went into that live, I saw all the Instagram comments flooding for just support for I'm Still Here and for Brazil, and just the excitement to have a film from Brazil and potentially some acting nominations or just anything really for this film. And I really haven't heard much about I'm Still Here. I saw the trailer once, and I know it's going to start showing around our area in early February, so I'm excited to try and catch it in theaters as soon as I can. But that immediately is just on my homework for this upcoming Oscars ceremony, so I'm really excited to see it. I feel like that one has to be somewhat of a front runner in this category, so I'm really excited because I haven't seen, aside from Emilia Perez, I haven't seen any of the other 4 nominations, so I'm really excited to see how that category pans out.
Yeah, kind of in just the last couple of years, like you were mentioning, if it's a Best Picture nominee and international feature, you can kind of shoe it in as a winner, like Zone of Interest last year, All Quiet on the Western Front the year before. You know, you can kind of sense that a little bit. So that one's interesting because you have a couple there that are in a lot of different categories. So it'll be fun to watch. The next category, which is always a fun one, shout out some bigger blockbuster movies, is Best Visual Effects. We've got Alien Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. This is always a category that I love, like I said, where like some of these bigger ones like Alien Romulus and Planet of the Apes, they're not going to get any of the big awards, but like a visual effects, and they're both very deserving of it. This isn't just like a, like the box office cinematic achievement at the Golden Globes. Like this is actually, both movies have incredible visual effects, and I was so happy to see Alien and Planet of the Apes because we both really like those movies, and they have some incredible visual effects. Dune 2, I think, is kind of the front runner here, and then Better Man is one that we both are not super thrilled to see. I will probably watch it just because I like to watch all the nominees, or try to anyways. But I don't know. We'll see if I get around to it.
Yeah, Better Man is the one of this list of 5 that I haven't seen, and I'm kind of like, I haven't seen it, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, that has a fuck ton of monkeys. Better Man, from my understanding, has for some reason, a monkey. One single monkey. You can't just go with the movie that has the greater amount of monkeys and be like, this probably has better visual effects. Like, in my fucking 24-year-old boy brain, that makes sense. Like, you can just kick Better Man out. Because I was really looking forward to not having to watch this movie. It's kind of similar to Baby Girl because I'm not interested in Robbie Williams at all. I don't really know his music or really care for musical biopics, as I've stated before. I've heard that it looks great. Sure, cool, glad that it does. Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out in 2011. It looked great then too. So, woo! So happy for you, Better Man, to have good monkey effects in 2024. Which I know I'm saying that with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but that movie released on physical media with a stripped back cut, where you can see the mocap before they put on the actual like effects over top of it. It's insane the amount of work that goes into that. And
also, more than just the monkeys, too.
Yeah,
like
the surroundings, the environment.
It looks great.
And again, not to intentionally short sight Better Man at all. I haven't seen the fucking movie. I probably won't watch the movie, and I'm just gonna be salty about it. But really, are they on the same? And then you can put them on the same level as Dune Part 2? Dune Part 2 is maybe one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in life. Okay, yeah, all right. Better Man, sure. Moving on to Best Sound. Nominations for that being A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. I feel like Dune Part 2 is just the one that always stands out to me on everything that it's nominated on. I'm like, fuck yeah, thank you, we got it. It came out early in the year. I'm happy to see it kind of carry on over throughout the rest of the year. That's the one I'm most thrilled about. Complete Unknown, it's a movie about music, so I'm hoping that the sound really kicks ass. And from what I remember, the sound was great in the movie. So I'm a little surprised to see Amelia Perez in here. We're gonna kind of have that as kind of an underlying tone throughout the rest of this video of Amelia Perez is nominated for this award because all right, which yeah, whatever, we'll talk about it. But I'm excited to see Wicked, Wild Robot. I think it's really cool to see an animated film be in Best Sound, which it deservedly should be. The score also is amazing, but the sound in that movie is so fantastic and so layered. It feels like a live action film. Like, it feels like real environments, even though it's 2D to 3D to CGI animation. Like, there's not a lot, like, it's imaginary 100%, but it just feels real. The woods, the world that they're in, this fucking robot just tumbling through. I love Wild Robot. I can gush about that all day. Corey, what are your thoughts on some of the Best Sound nominees?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's great to see animated movies getting nominations outside of just the animated feature category, because that's just as crucial. The sound in Wild Robot just as crucial as Dune Part 2. So that's great to see. Yeah, the Emilia Perez thing. If you guys listen, you know my thoughts on that movie. It got simply too many nominations, and this deserved Best Sound over like the fucking scene in Furiosa where they're going down like the road again, like with the tankers and the trucks and the fucking flames and everything.
Yeah.
No, there's no competition. But whatever, it's fine. I hope Dune 2 wins this one. I think it deserves it.
Is that what you think will win? What do you want to win? What do you think will win?
I want Dune 2 to win. I don't know. This one's not as like clear cut as Dune 2 for me.
I think any award that Wicked's in is in the conversation.
Yeah.
So that it like automatically kind of scares me. I'm like, it's not so clear cut to me.
Yeah.
With these other nominees.
We talked about it before we started recording that like a lot of the technical categories feel like it's going to be Dune 2 or Wicked, which either way I'm going to be pretty happy
with, yeah.
So I think, I think this one is the same, where it's kind of those two that I feel like are the ones that are going to have the best chance here. Moving into Best Makeup and Hairstyling, we've got A Different Man, the only nomination for that movie. Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. This one, pretty happy with overall. Like, The Substance, obviously the makeup in that movie is incredible. Nosferatu, which we'll mention in other categories, we're both so happy. Got 4 nominations total, which is actually a lot more than I thought it would. I thought it'd maybe be 1 or 2. But yeah, like a pretty solid. Again, Amelia Perez is here because why? I don't know.
It
like,
popped up in almost every nomination category for some reason.
Yeah, but A Different Man, I haven't seen it. Mason's seen, but I mean, just seeing like pictures from that movie, it seems very deserving of this nomination.
Yeah, this and the costume design, which we'll touch on in a minute here, both the nominees for these two categories, I'm pretty happy with all around. Like, I wouldn't be surprised with any of like Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, Substance, or Wicked. I would be surprised with one of them winning. Like, I wouldn't be mad about it. I'm not surprised by really any of these being in the nomination and in the conversation. I'm really trying to like delay the Amelia Perez rant that is just impending. So we're just gonna hold off on that. But if it was up to me, I feel like the makeup for The Substance, that is like such a crucial element of the film. But then also Nosferatu, it's so hard. I think I want it to go to The Substance, and I think it might go to Substance. I honestly don't know. I think the makeup in all these films are really, really pretty spectacular. It just in Wicked, it doesn't like stand out to me. That's more hairstyling, but like the thing that I remember most about the hair in Wicked is toss. Like that's not hairstyling. That's just Ariana Grande being awesome. So like I can't really argue for it winning, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it won. So it's a pretty good category. I know when it comes to like filling out ballots with you, it's gonna be hard to like sit down unless like there's a lot of buzz going into it that I hear about. It's gonna be hard to be like, all right, this one's winning. This one I think is gonna win.
Yeah, I think overall that's kind of which is exciting this year is kind of the theme of like there's not a ton of like
clear
lots.
cut, yeah.
Even like Best Picture, we'll talk about later, but I don't have like last year was like Oppenheimer's. Yeah, this movie's winning. And we still have a lot of precursor awards to go for obviously all of these different like the makeup guilds and all this stuff. So kind of looking into that, but yeah, it's exciting. I want The Substance to win because, like you said, it's a very crucial part of that movie.
Yeah. Moving into Best Costume Design, we have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. Which, like I said, with the makeup and hairstyling, this is another category that is just I completely understand each nomination. I agree with each nomination. Like you have period pieces, you have like distant, far off, imaginative worlds. You have a vampire, like just looking like a Romanian prince, all scary as fuck. Like it's just like there's so many different elements in this. There's period pieces with A Complete Unknown. I feel like, yeah, and if this went to anyone, I feel like it's got to go to Wicked just because that feels like the bigger one. Personally, might be a little bit more biased. I kind of want it to go to Nosferatu. I think the costume designs, I've seen so many featurettes of that, and I think it's harder to, in my head, it's harder to recreate a time period and go back and make it look real and have someone wearing clothes and you're like, yes, this fits within this time. This doesn't take me out of it. Whereas Wicked, I feel like you have a little bit more like freedom in terms of the story to kind of like, we can kind of do whatever we want with the costume here, and it takes a little bit more imagination. But I feel like it's harder to work within the confines of reality and having to stick to a time period, which Robert Eggers, we've talked about, is so good at doing that in his films, and please always do that. So I think I'd give the edge to Nosferatu, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wicked won. And then also I wouldn't be surprised if A Complete Unknown won. So it's kind of a toss-up. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Wicked is kind of the front runner here. But yeah, I'm pretty good with all the nominees here. Gladiator 2, the only nomination that the movie got was costume design.
Good. Ridley Scott. Good.
We were talking about it before, just like how hyped that movie was before it came out. And even like a little bit after it came out, of just how many big awards, like picture, director, supporting actor for Denzel, just like how many big things it was kind of in the talks for, and it really fell off and only ended up with one nomination, which I'm fine with it here. I think that's deserving enough. Moving into Best Production Design, we've got The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. This one, to me, feels like another Wicked one. I think we discussed it in our review of the movie, but just a lot of, like, even the train set.
Oh.
We've talked about that a few different times.
Emerald City.
The Emerald City and, like, Shiz, the school and everything. It just feels really... it feels like that's where it's going here. But, again, happy to see Nosferatu nominated. And Dune 2, I think, also I would love to see win this one.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be really biased. Anything that Dune 2 is nominated for, I'm wanting it to win. Do I think it's always going to happen? I don't necessarily know. I think anything that The Brutalist is nominated for as well is going to be a heavy hitter. So having Dune Part 2, Brutalist, and Wicked just battling it out, and then you got Nosferatu and Conclave. I think Conclave being such like a realistic, character-driven story, I feel like it's going to make it kind of hard for it to win some of these more design element awards, even though some of the costuming and the shot selection just is insane in that movie. Personally, I want it to go to Doom Part 2, but I wouldn't be upset or mad or surprised if it went to Wicked. I really would love it to go to Nosferatu as well, just because, again, 4 nominations. I didn't know if it would get any with how late it came out in the season. I feel like I didn't hear a lot of like buzz about it in terms of awards. I heard a lot of buzz in terms of just like people seeing it, reacting to Orlok and liking the movie. But I'm really pleasantly surprised with kind of the reception of it in terms of awards and the nominees that it's receiving. I just don't know how it's going to hold up or stack up against some of the juggernauts of Wicked and Dune Part 2. But yeah, these design elements and design-heavy awards, I'm pretty thrilled with how well matched everything is. And honestly, I think it's gonna be like it's just gonna be it's gonna be like a to the end. What's gonna break the tie? What's gonna be the dark horse? Like, I don't really know how it's gonna go, but I'm really excited by these nominees. And again, Dune Part 2, please, but I'm not mad if it doesn't go to it. Moving into Best Editing. Now we get to rant a little bit. But nominees for Best Editing: Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. Notice how I didn't say Dune Part 2, and notice how I said Emilia Perez again is nominated. Weird, I'd switch those two in a minute, in a heartbeat. What the fuck is that? Crazy work to put Emilia Perez in this one. In Dune Part... There's way more movies aside from just Dune Part 2. Like, I would maybe even say, you know what? I hate The Challengers. I think The Challengers is a pretty solid... The
editing is crucial to that movie.
And I think that works better than Emilia Perez does. Emilia Perez, as someone who's defended that movie more so than I really wanted to, I just came out and said I liked it, and some people were like, whoa, and I'm like, all right, well, sorry. I don't want to be put in the position where I have to defend this movie like I love it, because I don't. I really do like it, though. But, yeah, there's a big time jump in that movie that really... And that's part of the script issues I have with it, too. But it really just like, oh, well, this character did a complete 180 in this time, both in personality, looks, sexual orientation, gender, like all that stuff. But you missed all of it because we just faded to black instead of 5 years later. How are you going to fix that into, like, edit it? Like, Corey, what are your thoughts?
It's 100% agree. I do not understand Emilia Perez getting in. I knew that this movie was going to get and like the most nominations for the day. I went into the morning thinking like I know that this one's going to get a lot, so I was expecting it. But the fact that Dune Part 1 won the award for Best Editing, and I think Dune Part 2, Joe Walker, he did the editing for both movies. He's such an underrated editor, and nobody talks about editors because nobody cares. Nobody outside of like us that talk about movies care, but Joe Walker's such a great editor of movies, and the fact that he was like a favorite to win this award and that he didn't get nominated is absolutely baffling to me. Like you said, Challengers, I actually would have been okay if that got nominated here.
As someone who doesn't like Challengers, I think I could have allowed it for this one.
Yeah. It's very surprising. That's kind of like an under the radar like snub for me, at least, is Dune 2. Editing, if editing is an award that I don't think people realize how important editing is in a movie. That makes or breaks in the editing room how good your movie is, because you can have the best filmed movie, the best performances, but if it's not edited well, that movie's dog shit. Mm-hmm. And it's so crucial, it's so important. So it's very surprising that Dune 2 is not in this category.
What do you think of the five films that are nominated? Do you think will likely win this award? Because I think I have a clear-cut winner of this.
I think right now I'm gonna say Anora or The Brutalist would be my two that I would kind of be going between.
Okay. I would love it if Conclave won, just because I really did love that film, and I'm happy with the amount of nominations it got. It could have gotten more, and I would have been even happier. But the film that I surprisingly think should win this is Anora. I will say I think that movie is too long. I think that mostly comes down to like my issues with the script, because there are some funny beats in this film that are 100% reliant on the editing and the cut of the film. And there are some good argument scenes that are just cut so sharply that make it really kind of like it's a movie that I struggle to say I enjoy at times, but it is a very well edited film. And honestly, if it were to just wipe the floor with other films and like, yep, it got best editing, I'd be like, all right, sweet, take it. I'm fine with that. And there's not many of these of the categories in the Oscars. There's not many awards that I'd be like super willing to hand out to Anora. This one, I'm like, you know what? If you took Best Editing, fuck yeah. I'm thrilled about that. And I also think it kind of has... It might be between Anora and The Brutalist. Brutalist being a 3.5 hour long fucking epic. It kind of... I don't know. I feel like you're dealing with something so monumental that it's going to be hard to beat, I feel like, in a lot of these awards. But I think Anora, in terms of editing, just... It does... it really serves that movie.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like, I don't love Anora, but yeah, I'd be totally okay with that winning here. Moving into Best Original Song, which we just got news somewhat recently that they're not going to be performing the songs at the Oscars this year, which for this year I'm okay with.
I'm okay with skipping.
See, every year I'm always like, I want like a couple of the songs performed, and then the other ones I don't care about. But you can't do that, obviously. Like, if you're doing one, you have to do them all. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I think back to like "Shallow" from Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga singing that. That's fucking incredible. That's amazing. But then other things like the fucking Flamin' Hot Cheeto movie that had a song last year.
But last year we had "I'm Just Ken."
I'm Just Ken again, yeah.
It's like great. You get great songs that have like personality to live on stage, and then you have songs that are like good, but like, do you need to perform them? And it's just like you can't pick and choose.
Exactly. So it's always tough. I think it'll maybe help the pacing of the show this year, but anyways, that's a sidebar on that. The nominees for Best Original Song are El Mal from Emilia Perez, The Journey from the 688.
I know you loved that one.
That one, let me just read the rest and then I'll get into my thoughts on this. Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Mi Camino from Emilia Perez, and Never Too Late from Elton John, Never Too Late, which is a documentary film. So The Journey from the 688 is at least written, maybe performed by Diane Warren. Diane Warren, she has like a blood pact with the devil or something. Because every year she gets nominated for a movie. Like, look at her Oscar nominations. I don't have it off top of my head here. But I think if you were to look in the last 10 years, she's been nominated probably 8 of those years for Best Original Song. And she's never won. She will not win this award. But she has something where she makes one movie a year. Or she performs a song for one movie a year. And she's going to get nominated for it. It's insane to me that she pops up every year. And I know anytime I see her in the mix, I'm like, she's getting nominated. It blows my fucking mind.
Do you want to know how many times she's been nominated? Without winning. She's never won.
Let me guess first, like in history.
Yes, throughout how many times she's
I'm going to say, let me say 15.
You're almost spot 16.
16, okay.
She's been nominated 16 fucking times.
How many, like in the past, does it say like how many in the past however many years? Because I feel like
I can pull that up too.
I feel like it's crazy.
2020, so 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020. I'm just going to keep numbering. Yeah, 2019, 2018, 2017, missed 2016, 2015, 2014, and then back to 2001. So almost.
Like a decade.
Almost a decade in a row.
It's crazy. And she hasn't, I don't think she's won for any of them.
Nope. No. 0 wins.
No. And it blows my mind. So I don't know.
It says pending. Like she's going to win for the, dog shit, a movie I haven't seen. But
you're not going to win.
No, sorry.
No, I don't know. This category, I'm not really that excited about. No. Like a Bird from Sing Sing, like cool with that one because I love that movie.
I like that song. I feel like this is going to Emilia Perez and one of the two, which I kind of I feel like you should. I don't know if you need to put in a rule that you cap a movie that you can't overrepresent it or represent it more than once in a category because like. I don't know if you should put that in because there's some act categories where there's co-leads and like you should nominate 2 different people for movies, but I don't need 2 Emilia Perez songs in this. I expected El Mal. Mi Camino kind of surprised me. El Mal I like the energy of, and I think that's actually kind of a fun song. And if they were to perform that one live, I'm like, you know what, that could be interesting. At least I don't know, good or not, but interesting. I think El Mal is probably going to walk away with this one.
I think so too.
Yeah. Sing Sing, anything, the few nominations that Sing Sing was able to garner, I want it to win as many of those as possible. Because that movie, I feel like, was heavily underrepresented in this year's Oscar nominees. I wish it would win. I don't think it's going to go that way. I think, like we said, it's going to go to El Mal. Corey, do you think any differently or anything else about... I haven't even sat down to try and listen to The Journey.
I haven't either. I don't plan on it. So
Never Too Late. I'm like, Elton John never. All right, well, okay. So maybe.
Yeah, a couple of ones that were like on the edge of maybe getting in here. Kiss the Sky from The Wild Robot.
Great song.
Yeah, really good song. And Compress Repress from Challengers, another one.
I actually enjoy that song.
Yeah,
as someone who shits on that movie.
Something that, just a quick last note on original song, something that bothers me about this category in at least recent years is that a lot of times it's like the song in the end credits of the movie where it doesn't like have an impact to the story. It's just like a celebrity wants to make a song to try and get nominated for an Oscar. And that's what, not all of these obviously, but like some of them it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's a good song, but like it doesn't really thematically fit
barely,
with this movie.
It's barely part of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Elm All, you know what? Just take your fucking award, I guess.
Yeah.
Best original score nominees are The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez. All right. Wicked and The Wild Robot. Notice how I didn't say challengers. We already touched on that. I'm not mad about it not getting a nomination. I'm actually kind of thrilled about that. Corey, if you disagree, feel free to chime in on that. But you know what? I will say, I like the score for challengers more than Amelia Perez, and I think it's more deserving than Amelia Perez as someone who likes Amelia Perez and doesn't like the challengers. So there's components of the challengers, you know what, I will acknowledge are well made. Like I said, the score. It doesn't fit with the movie to me, but I think it's a better made score than Amelia Perez. What sticks out in the movie Amelia Perez is the music, like the songs. The part we just fucking talked about, El Ma and Mi Camino. But not that they're all fantastic, they kind of are jarring when they happen, and then you get used to it, and then some of the songs have a good energy to it. Best original score, Amelia Perez. I couldn't even fucking think of that score right now.
I couldn't hum you a theme from that score.
I'm thrilled to see The Wild Robot in here. I love that score. I think that since maybe How to Train Your Dragon has an animated film score been so just like moving to me. The Brutalist score is so heavy and optimistic at times, but just so like melancholy, and I really enjoy that score. Conclave, anything Edward Berger is directing, I feel like he just pairs it with a dynamite score. And I forget who the composer that was nominated for Conclave is.
I think it's Volker Bertelmann who did All Quiet on the Western Front. Let me double check that, but
if so, knockout. Team up with him, Edward Berger. Team up with him every fucking time because I love the score to Conclave. It is so sharp. Wicked. It's always interesting when musicals have like best original score because I'm like I get like the musical elements are carried over from the Broadway show or from the show prior. In Wicked, the score is something new, but I don't really remember much of the score also in Wicked. So
see, this is a thing that's very interesting because, like I said, some musicals, something like La La Land, which I don't know if I've mentioned on here before, that's my favorite movie of all time. That movie has great songs and also a great score. Very separate things. Wicked, at least from what I remember, the score kind of incorporates a lot of the songs and like themes from the songs into the score. So if that's the case, why can't Dune 2 nominated? Yeah. Like if that why if you're taking it from a Broadway play, but if you're taking like even Dune 2, like there's so many new themes in the second part that aren't in the first part. How do you quantify what can be nominated and what can't? Because Dune 2 should be nominated here and should win.
I thought I was fine with it, like, because I heard that story about like, oh, they're not going to allow it just based on the percentage of what carried over from the first score of the first film, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, you're going to make up your own fucking rules and somehow find a way to gyp this movie, fine, whatever. And then you talk about that, and I'm like, well, that does, all right, well, now I'm pissed off again. Dune 2, I think if it gets nominated for this award, it wins outright. I'm hoping, for me, honestly, I think The Brutalist, I think it will win. Should win between that and Conclave, but I'd be really excited with either. Or The Wild Robot. Fuck, oh my god, I forgot about The Wild Robot. That is such a good score, too. So, honestly, Conclave, Brutalist, Wild Robot, I'd be thrilled. Amelia Perez and Wicked, I just more of like the confusion of. It's like, really? That's like the musical elements of those films, I don't remember the score. I remember the actual music numbers, the songs. So, it's interesting to see those scores also get mentioned.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe leaning towards Brutalist if I had to pick one right now.
Yeah,
but again,
is a good score.
We'll do kind of another episode like this right before the Oscars of our predictions for the movies. So we have some time to see these precursors play out, see how that all goes. Into the next category, which is Best Cinematography, and the nominees are The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, 100% deserving. The shots in this movie both of those movies are incredible.
Nosferatu too, throw that in there too.
Yep, Nosferatu as well. Haven't seen Maria yet, but this was one that we'll talk about later in Best Actress for Angelina Jolie not getting nominated. It's a movie I've wanted to watch, and now that it's nominated for an Oscar, It's a Pablo Larraín movie, who I really like his movies. And last year, too, El Conde got nominated for Best Cinematography.
What a beautiful fucking movie.
I don't love the entirety of that movie, but the cinematography, you can't deny, it's great.
Stunning.
So I'm excited to watch Maria, actually, and kind of not like have an excuse to watch it now, but it's like on the list. I'm like, okay.
Now that it's required, it's like, all right, I have to.
Yep, now I can see it. Now I can, and kind of complete my Pablo Larraín watch through here. But I think Dune Part 2 should win, but I think maybe The Brutalist will. I think those are kind of the two for me. A couple like notable ones that were left off here. Conclave, I think, has some incredible shots in that movie.
The umbrellas,
just so many shots like in this like chapel in this in the Vatican look incredible. And then Nickel Boys, which is like point of view movie, so the cinematography is a character in a sense. So interesting to see both of those left off here.
Especially with Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys I still haven't seen. I'm really eager to watch that one as soon as it's available. Actually, it is available now near us, so I'm going to try and see if I can sneak out to that earlier this weekend. I think my clear pick, I've said it this entire video, Dune Part 2, for anything it's nominated for, it deserves. And I think Dune Part 2, Greg Fraser fucking killed it with this movie. The amount of shots that I'm just like, you could frame that. That is a painting. Dune Part 2 is one of the most stunning things I've ever seen. The Brutalist, I feel like, is the more awards-friendly film, and it kind of fits with the Oscars, and it's also it has more, like, the recency power. Dune Part 2, I feel like coming out in March, it kind of handicaps itself a little bit. I think Greg Fraser should walk away with an award for this. It is easily one of the most beautiful films I've seen. I wouldn't be mad if it went to The Brutalist. I wouldn't be mad if it went to Nosferatu. I can't say much about Maria because I also haven't seen it. That is now added to my homework. I'm excited to actually sit down and watch that on Netflix, which is kind of a sad thing to say for best cinematography. I'm going to watch that on my TV at home, not in theaters. Fuck you, Netflix. Emilia Perez, this doesn't stick out to me.
What?
Yeah, it just...
What the fuck is this?
See, like... I like this movie, and the awards that it's getting that I don't think the film deserves is making me have to it's making me recognize things that I don't agree with and things that I think are shortcomings actually in the movie. The look of this film did nothing that was revolutionary to me. It didn't surprise me. There's no shots that stick out in my mind. Like Nosferatu, you got the carriage scene. Dune Part 2, you got that overhead of him walking to that war council, like when he travels south, and you get the overhead of all those Fremen. The Brutalist, just even the opening of the bobbing of like the camera staring up at the sky and the disorienting like spinning, and then you see the Statue of Liberty's torch poking through, and like I can think of distinct shots from these films. Emilia Perez, I can think of a close-up of Selena Gomez's face. Like... Or I can think of a shot of Zoe Saldana during El Mall. Like, that's it. Like, there's not anything that, like, really sticks out, though, that is super powerful or well done to me, that I'm like, why the fuck are you on this short list, this list of nominees? One of these things is not like the other. But, yeah, whatever. We're just going to continue ranting about that in this next category, too. Best Adapted Screenplay nominees for Best Adapted Screenplay are A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing, which, thank God for Sing Sing getting a nomination. That is a film that I feel like kind of was slept on this awards season in terms of Oscars. Happy to see it here. Nickel Boys, I can't wait to watch it. Can't really speak to it because I haven't seen it. Conclave, I think, is such a well-written film. Complete Unknown, I'm a little torn on because, like, the music really, like, pushes that movie along. Like, I don't think of it like, I don't know. Emilia Perez, you're in here too. Dune Part 2, as someone who saw Dune Part 2 6 times in theaters, went back and read the book, the Frank Herbert book, for the first time because of this film. To see and compare the book to the movie and how Denis Villeneuve adapted this film on screen. Flawless. No notes. There are things that are left out, sure. It's a fucking huge book to a movie. It works. It's awesome. It's an amazing adaptation. And I think that does deserve a nomination. I don't think it's necessarily a snub because it is a bit subjective to me. But Jesus. Amelia Perez, really?
It's wild. Also, Wicked being left out too. I mean, that's a big adapted screenplay. Like that's, I don't know, the two big ones that are left out there.
That and how much is added. The Broadway show. You brought this up to me. The Broadway show is what, 240?
Yeah,
maybe.
It's the length of the first movie.
Yeah. The amount of adaptation, and then also, you know what? You're working with it, you have to evolve it into something new to fully incorporate your new vision for what this story can be. I think that deserves potentially a nomination over Amelia Perez. But again, that is an opinion.
Yeah,
It's subjective.
and it's, maybe Wicked for Good, which comes out next, or actually later this year, will get nominated. And I hope they weren't like, well, we won't nominate the first part because the second part's coming out later, so we'll recognize it there.
Yeah.
I hate that line of thinking. Like I don't know if that's how they think. We're not in the fucking academy.
They kind of did that with Return of the King.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, this one, I think this is Conclave's award that is going to win for the Oscars. So happy to see Sing Sing. A24 absolutely botched the release of this movie by releasing it in like August.
Yeah.
Barely promoting it. And then doing a somewhat release this past week, like re-release of it. And being like, no, we still want it to get nominated, but they're not pushing for it, even though this is one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, you can feel them pushing for Brutalist more so than Sing Sing. And Sing Sing, to me, is a better movie.
Yeah, and you can push for two movies. Like, it's happened many times, and like, one of my coworkers saw Sing Sing last night, because he's like, I want to catch up on some of the big ones, and he's like, it's one of the best movies of the year. How did that not get nominated for more stuff? So even like general audiences are like, this movie's great. That's a movie that I could recommend to absolutely anybody. Which not a lot of these I could be like, yeah, everybody would love this. Sing Sing I think is great. So I'm very happy to see it pop up here. But moving into best original screenplay, we've got Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th. Which I say September 5th because that's how you say dates, not September 5. I hate when people say September 5. I think that's a European thing, and I don't like it. How do you say your birthday? What day were you born on?
May 8th.
Yep, you don't say May 8th. Shut the fuck up.
I don't like that it's written 5. I think it should just put the TH on that.
It bothers me a lot. That's a side note. That's just it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, but whatever.
But it matters, but it doesn't matter.
To me. The last one there is The Substance. So yeah, this is I think a much better,
solid 5.
Much better 5 than adapted. The Substance being on here is great because that truly is, if you're looking at the name of this award, original screenplay, The Substance is insanely original.
The most unpredictable movie I watched this entire year.
100%.
I never knew where it was going. I was never mad with where it went, and I was satisfied when it was over. So like, no notes. Like that to me, you won. Like you did it. I would be. I'm happy to see September 5th get nominated. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna try and see that potentially this weekend. Corey, I know you really liked it. You mentioned that it was maybe even in your top 10 from last year. So I'm excited to sit down and watch that film. And about like it's a 90-minute contained in one room. Like the writing is everything in that movie. A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg. This film is such an emotional roller coaster, and it's so well written. There's poignant moments, there's funny moments. It just works so well. I'm happy to see him recognized. I don't know the likelihood of him winning, especially going up against The Brutalist and Anora. The Brutalist is just a fucking monumental movie. Just a behemoth. Just a massive bitch. Just a big bitch of a movie.
Big bitch.
Just a big bitch. Which I like this big bitch of a movie. I like The Brutalist a lot. And I respect Anora a lot. I don't know what it goes to. I don't want it to go to Anora because the writing of that, aside from the very last scene, it didn't like knock me out. It didn't blow me away. The final scene tore me to shreds. And I think that's one of the best final scenes throughout all of 2024. I kind of want to go to The Substance. I think that is such an unpredictable film. It's so just otherworldly. It's fun. It has so much energy to it. It's just the most like energetic, inventive film of 2024 in terms of writing. I'd be happy with The Real Pain. I get The Brutalist. I also understand Anora. I just would rather it go to something a little bit more edgy, I think, with The Substance. Which also, with it being edgy, I feel like kind of also slightly disqualifies it.
Yeah. No, Yeah, September 5th. I just saw it like this morning, like right after the nominations came out. I already planned on seeing it, but I was really happy to see it get a nomination. But again, like Sing Sing, this movie botched the release of like releasing. They were initially going to release this movie in like limited, kind of at the beginning of the year before nominations, voting, and then they pushed it for some reason. And like, this movie's great. It's so good, and I think it would have gotten so many more nominations if it were to have been released late in December, early January. But whatever. Yeah, I think this one's between Anora and The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to Anora.
Yeah,
Just
I
the
do
vibe
too.
I'm getting. So
I feel like there's a lot of Sean Baker love going into the Oscars. He wrote, directed, and edited this film. And like I said, I think that there's 20 minutes of this film that you could probably cut out. I think the editing of this film is pretty great.
I think there's like 2 hours and 20 minutes of this movie you could cut out.
Oh, so the entire fucking movie. I think 20 minutes, and it's a very sharp movie. But yeah, I love The Substance so much, and I would be so giddy excited about it.
Good category though, like good nominees.
Yeah, this list of 5, that's strong.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled about it. There's a couple of ones that we've already talked about that I'm like, yeah, solid through and through. Notice how a lot of the ones that have Emilia Perez, where I'm like, why are you here? Those ones I'm like, maybe you got to fix something. But otherwise, original screenplay, I'm excited to see kind of what happens with that award, just because writing is a big part of like what I look for in films, and I feel like original and adapted screenplay, I'm excited to kind of see which movies win out of these 2 awards. Substance, God, please, would you just, that would be awesome. Moving on into Best Director, we have, not surprised, Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, Coralie Farguet for The Substance. Okay, I don't throw around the word snub in terms of Oscars a lot. I think for something to be a snub, it has to be a film that you think had a shot at winning. Not that it deserves to be in the conversation of these other movies, but it had a shot at this. If this movie got nominated, it would win. Or if this person got nominated, they would win. In terms of Best Director, I think you are missing half your fucking brain if you don't think Denis Villeneuve wins this award if he's nominated. No shot in hell that this man doesn't walk away with a golden little sexy little naked statue at the end of the night. This Canadian fuck. He deserves it. He directed the best film that's been made since I've been alive. Succinctly adapted one of the most unadaptable works of fiction. There's a lot of bad things I want to say that would get me canceled before I'm even discovered, so I can't. But Denis Villeneuve should have been nominated, especially over Jacques Audiard. This is not... Emilia Perez, you're not a bad movie. I don't think you're a bad movie. And I think, honestly, based on how I've had to defend this movie to Corey and to a lot of people that I talk to about this movie, a lot of people think this is a bad fucking movie. Emilia Perez, I don't think you're a bad movie. Jacques Audiard, I think you directed something that has a lot of energy, and it's a really somewhat unpredictable film, and it kind of goes a lot of different routes. It doesn't always work for me. But I don't think you so succinctly directed a perfect film. I think Dune Part 2 is damn near a perfect film. I think Denis Villeneuve put his whole shaft and balls into that fucking movie. He made the shit out of that movie. And you're going to try and tell me that this, maybe because, recency bias, or it came out in fucking March, you can try and argue to me that Dune Part 2 isn't a better directed film. If you think Emilia Perez is a better directed film than Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2,
It's
put yourself 8 feet under.
It's so surprising that he has not gotten nominated for Dune Part 1 or Dune Part 2. And even just comparing the 2 movies, Dune Part 1 got nominated for 10 Oscars and won 6. It cleaned up that year. It cleaned up in all the technical categories. We watched the Oscars together that year, and we're like, yeah, fucking deserves all of
Yes,
this.
100%.
Dune Part 2 got nominated for 5 Oscars. Less than what the first part won.
Then it won. Then what Part 1
Yeah.
won? W-O-N. Won. Fucking awarded.
It's just baffling to me. It's and we sort of talked about it before, but like I sort of expected him to not get nominated, so it hurt a little bit less, but it still is. It's not less shocking because like Jacques Audiard, personally, I wouldn't put him in there. James Mangold for A Complete Unknown.
I wouldn't put him in there.
I think James Mangold is great, and this is his first time ever being nominated for Best Director Oscar, that makes me very happy.
Good for
James
you.
Mangold is an incredible director that deserves it. I don't think for this movie specifically. I think like Ford v Ferrari maybe
Correct.
deserved that a little bit more.
Correct.
Walk the Line even. I think that movie would have deserved it, but
Dial of Destiny.
Okay, well let's relax. I'm gonna throw Copland in there.
Copland's awesome. Copland is a near perfect cop film. Have you seen Copland?
I don't. I've seen parts of it. I don't
Treat
think
yourself,
I've seen,
my friend.
I do need to see it.
Treat yourself.
Need to watch it. Just want to throw at Copland. The other kind of big, like, what I would say snub is Edward Berger for Conclave. I think that he deserved to be nominated for this. Putting him and Denis over Jacques Audiard and James Mangold, I think he got a pretty good category here. But great to see Coralie Ferge nominated for The Substance.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love how much support that this movie got. Even after like I saw it for the first time, I'm like, I don't know how much love the Oscars are going to give this movie. It's very weird. It's very strange, but great to see her in there. So, yeah. Denis Villeneuve.
I don't say that there's snubs a lot. This is the one snub I can remember in the past like couple of years.
Yeah, for both movies. Not getting
Denis
nominated
Villeneuve,
is crazy.
You deserve an Oscar by now.
What more does
not
bro
be
have to do?
Yeah.
He's been the most consistent filmmaker.
Adapt the unadaptable.
It's him and Christopher Nolan are the most consistent filmmakers working right now. Denis Villeneuve has not made a bad movie. He should have like fucking 6 Oscars under his belt, and that's just a fact.
I think he's the best working director today, and I think that this is criminal. I love James Mangold, and we've talked about his filmography and how much we like it. I think A Complete Unknown is not his best work. I think it's a good movie, but do you deserve a Best Director nomination for this film? No. Jacques Audiard, get the fuck out of here. I get Sean Baker. I get Brady Corbet. I'm so thrilled by Coralie Farge. I said it probably wrong one of those times. For The Substance, I love that movie. Denis Villeneuve, far and away, is the best director of 2024 for what he made.
Yep. I think Brady Corbet probably taking this one.
I think it might be. It's anything that The Brutalist and Anora are both nominated for. I'm like, those are the two heavy hitters for me in terms of Oscars. So I'm like, if it went one way, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if it's out of this group of 5 that we have, obviously I want The Substance. I don't think it has a shot at winning. I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. Brady Corbet, I wouldn't be surprised about it winning, but I also wouldn't discount Sean Baker because he's going to get love somewhere, whether it's writing, editing, or directing. He's gotta.
That's where I think like Anora may get original screenplay, Brady Corbet get The Brutalist. Yeah, some version of that. But yeah, moving into Best Supporting Actor. This one was like fairly kind of what I expected here. Mm-hmm. Yuri Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Like I said, this one didn't shock me too much. Kieran Culkin's been the front runner for quite a while, I feel like. The one I was most excited to see was Guy Pearce for The Brutalist because he missed out on a SAG nomination, and I was a little worried that he wouldn't get in, but he did because he gave one of my favorite performances of last year. And I'll talk about The Brutalist on our next episode of the podcast because I saw it this week and I really liked it. Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. I'm excited to see that movie. I would have loved to have seen Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing. Mm-hmm. That performance is so raw, and it's not from an established actor. It's just a real person that is being himself, but is so incredible in that. Stanley Tucci for Conclave. I really liked. I thought he was great. And then Denzel Washington. We kind of mentioned the Gladiator 2 fall off after that movie came out, and how some people were like, he's gonna win supporting actor, and then he fell off. I liked him in the movie, but I didn't ever think that he should be nominated for an actor. So overall, I'm like pretty happy with this category. I'm excited to see Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. I've liked him in my Succession watch through. He's been great. So very strong actor, but good category.
Yeah, I'm just gonna duplicate almost everything you said. I'm thrilled with this category, not except for I haven't watched The Apprentice, and I didn't know that was gonna be such a big awards movie in terms of some of the acting nominations coming up. But Jeremy Strong getting nominated for this, I love Jeremy Strong. I'm excited to sit down now and watch The Apprentice for some of these performances and get kind of check in on it. So I can't really speak to whether I think he deserves it or not. The one that sticks out like a sore thumb for me that wasn't included in this list was Clarence Macklin. I loved him in Sing Sing. It kind of reminds me of like the Picard Abdi for Captain Phillips back in 2013 or 14, whatever year that was. Just such a great performance by someone who's not an actor and just bursting onto the scene and giving such a great performance. I love Clarence Macklin so much in Sing Sing. Out of these, I personally would love to give it to Yura Borisov just because he was the best part of Anora for me. I think that this is probably going to go to Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain just because his character is just the heart and soul of that movie. It's hard to pick. I think Edward Norton, I think he gives a really good performance. I don't know if he's in the top 5 best performances for a supporting actor of 2024. I am also, like you, happy to see Guy Pearce, though, for The Brutalist after missing out on that SAG. I think he gives just such a fucking dark, serious, just crazy performance that not that I didn't expect from him, but I was surprised to see that he still had that because he's such an underutilized actor. And to see some of the despicable things that happen on screen that particularly happened because of his character, it's like, all right, you know what? Wow, you're really good at this acting thing. Otherwise, you are a horrible person if you are just so easily able to do these things. But can't wait to see how that works out. I'm really excited with the makeup of that category there. Moving on to Best Supporting Actress, we got Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, again another person that missed out on the SAG nomination but came through, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Some notable snubs or potential people that missed out. For me, I want to harp on Danielle Deadwyler, especially for The Piano Lesson. I thought she was fantastic in that film. I was kind of expecting her to get some sort of love. I know some people are kind of looking at like Margaret Qualley, some substance love. I really did love her in that film. I'm not necessarily torn or kind of devastated that she didn't get nominated. I do think she gives a great performance. Selena Gomez, I thought she was great in the movie, but I don't know if, again, she deserved it. And Jamie Lee Curtis within The Last Showgirl, which she is fan-fucking-tastic in that movie. Also, some love for Elle Fanning, but in a movie with Monica Barbaro where she just outright stole that movie for me, I don't know how you put Elle Fanning in the same category as her for this past year. But Corey, what do you think of these nominees for Best Supporting Actress?
This is one I was really happy about. This is probably the most like stacked above the line category. Mm-hmm. Because all the like kind of notable ones that got left off this list were all right there. Like they were, I wouldn't have been surprised if any of them got in. But I was most happy about Monica Barbaro. I think she was great as Joan Baez in A Complete Unknown. Maybe my favorite part of the movie. But yeah, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. Like you said, missed out on the SAG, but great to see her here. Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. I think she was good in the movie. I don't know that I would have put her in my like top 5 supporting actress. I thought she was solid, and I think a big part of it is that she is one of 2 female members of the cast, so it stands out a little bit more. I understand why Oscar voters kind of gravitated towards that a bit, and she's a legend in Hollywood, and this is her first Oscar nomination, I believe. So great to see her nominated, but I don't think she has a chance to win, really. Mm-hmm. I think Zoe Saldana probably taking this one. It seems like that's kind of been the direction it's been going this award season.
And I would, like, as we've harped on Emilia Perez nominations and for getting nominated for stuff that it doesn't necessarily deserve, this is one of the ones where I'm like, yes, this is right for me. I love Zoe Saldana in this film. There's not, like, she's obviously in the Avatar movie. She's known, I feel like, mostly for her big blockbuster work just because she's in so many of the biggest earning films of all time. But I think this is my favorite performance I've ever seen from her, and I'm really excited to see her nominated for this movie. I think she is one of just the most, she's the backbone of this film. and she makes this film really work for me. I'm really excited to see Isabella Rossellini. I kind of have a chip on my shoulder when it's an actor being nominated for something when their performance is so limited. It's like Judi Dench winning for Shakespeare in Love for like 4 to 5 minutes of screen time. It's like, really? Like, you guys were swayed by that? Like, that was enough to prove that she was the best actor or best supporting actress for that year? I'm excited to see her because I do think she's great in the film. I think I might have been a little bit happier to see Danielle Deadwyler for Piano Lesson, but you know what? I'm not like, it's not the biggest pick for me that's going to deter this category. I fucking love Monica Barbaro in A Complete Unknown, and she was, for me, the best part of the film. She stole every scene she was in, and to go up against Timothée Chalamet, which I just saw the stat about him being, since James Dean, the youngest actor to be nominated at the Oscars twice. That's a crazy stat. And then to have Monica Barbaro go up toe-to-toe with him in scenes and I think outact him. I think Monica Barbaro gives a better performance in A Complete Unknown than Timothée Chalamet does. Felicity Jones, happy to see you. Ariana Grande in Wicked, I get the supporting actress nomination. I have an issue with her being classified as supporting actress. It's kind of a bigger issue of, there's got to be, what's the line? Where do we draw the line at, like, you know what? This person had X amount of lines in this film. Because to me, Ariana Grande is very much a co-lead in Wicked. And she starts the film. Sure, Cynthia Erivo ends the film, and she has that big number. But we start the film with Glinda, with Ariana Grande. So she's very much a co-lead. It's like fucking Christian Bale in The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg. Christian Bale gets supporting actor. I'm like, I get your positioning actors to win where they might win, but I feel like that's not faithful to the performance that they gave.
And that's the same with Zoe Saldana, too. She's in Amelia
Correct,
Perez.
yeah.
She's in the movie Amelia Perez more than Amelia Perez character is in the movie.
She is a lead.
She's the lead performance in that movie. And it's a studio thing of like, where can we have the best chance to win? That's where they position
I feel like that's something that needs to be worked on in years to come. But I feel like it's still a prevalent issue. And it's just, I don't think that's high on their list of things to fix in terms of their award show, but again, I'm happy about these nominees. I'd love it if it went to Monica Barbaro. I think it will probably go to Zoe Saldana. But yeah, moving into another stacked list of nominees. For Best Actor, we have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for Not A Different Man for The Apprentice, which I was surprised by because initially I watched A Different Man the night before the Oscar nominees, thinking that Sebastian Stan would probably get nominated for that film, and then he gets nominated for The Apprentice, which when that movie came out, I feel like I kind of missed out on. Corey, where are your takes with some of these nominees for this year?
So happy to see Coleman Domingo in for Sing Sing.
Yep.
Back-to-back years for him getting in. I think this is much better performance than Rustin from last year, which he got nominated for.
Did not see that.
He's a great actor. I love him. I forgot about that movie almost entirely. Yeah, I don't think he can do any wrong, and like even in a movie like Rustin, where I'm like, it's interesting to learn about it, but he carries that movie and deserved the nomination. But happy to see Sing Sing get any love it can, like we've mentioned. Yeah, this is a strong one. This is, again, we haven't seen The Apprentice, so can't comment too much on that. But I think Adrian Brody's kind of the front runner here, but Ralph Fiennes, again, has never won an Oscar. So I wouldn't be surprised if he won. Kind of the big ones that were left out here, Daniel Craig for Queer was kind of that fifth slot of like him, maybe Sebastian Stan for either The Apprentice or Different Man. And then also Jesse Eisenberg for A Real Pain. All the attention has been on the screenplay and the, Kieran Culkin in that movie. But I think Jesse Eisenberg is equally as good, and I think he should deserve a nomination here because he has some incredible scenes that I just like really stick out to me in the movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he got nominated for writing, so that makes up for it a bit. But yeah, Timothée Chalamet, again, great for this. If he won this award, I wouldn't be upset either. So I think, really great category.
Mm-hmm. I like that Adrian Brody obviously got nominated for The Brutalist. Coleman Domingo is the person I kind of want to win this award. I don't think he really has a chance after like going up toe-to-toe with Ralph Fiennes and Adrian Brody. Again, haven't seen The Apprentice, so I don't know Sebastian Stan's performance really, so I can't really speak to it. But out of those four, I think it's between Ralph Fiennes and Adrian Brody. I love Coleman Domingo so much. I like that Sing Sing's getting love. I'm just worried that Sing Sing's going to walk away with 0 wins from this awards circuit in terms of the Oscars. I watched Queer hoping that Daniel Craig would get nominated for it. Not that Queer was a waste of time. I really did. There's large aspects of that movie I really did enjoy. I'm not too terribly sad to see that he didn't get a nomination, but I'm biased. I love Daniel Craig. Jesse Eisenberg, I completely get what you're saying in terms of he is the backbone of that film. Like, yes, Kieran Culkin is the flashy performance, and he is a lot of the emotion in that film, but there's a couple of very crucial scenes that are just really on Jesse Eisenberg's shoulders, especially that dinner scene where you got Kieran Culkin playing piano in the back, and Jesse Eisenberg has to sell like why this is just such a hard fucking trip for them, a hard time for them, and he gives a great performance. I like that he's nominated for writing though. Sebastian Stan is the biggest surprise to me that it was for The Apprentice and not A Different Man. I loved his performance in A Different Man. Didn't love the movie overall, and I'll probably post a review for that in the coming days, but overall, I am pretty happy with this list of nominees. I think it will likely go to Adrian Brody. I feel like that it's just, again, when it's a 3.5 hour long film, there's just so much of him that I'd be surprised if it went to someone else.
Yeah.
I think Ralph Fiennes gives one of his best performances ever, and I want him to win. I think he's one of the best actors working today that doesn't have an Oscar to his name. And Adrian Brody, he's won one before, so I do think it's going to go to his way. I just wish Ralph Fiennes, dude, it's so hard to win an Oscar because you have to fucking put in just top shelf work and then also hope that someone else isn't just absolutely dicking down their role. Like, you got to hope to God that you did the best at the best time. So, I don't know.
Get Voldemort his Oscar, man.
Give him his fucking Oscar. The Oscar award kind of looks like Voldemort.
A little bit, yeah. No nose, really.
Kind of sleek.
A little sleek, a little slender. Yeah, okay. We're working into the last couple categories here. We got Best Actress. The nominees are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison for Enora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Besides Fernanda Torres, the other four I mentioned felt kind of like they were pretty solid for getting in there.
What to be expected.
It was that last slot, and I think Fernanda Torres, as much as the Globes don't matter as much, I think it really did help her and Demi Moore. I think both of their speeches at the Globes were really big and helped them get into the Oscar race here. Like we mentioned, neither of us have seen I'm Still Here, so excited to see that one. But a couple people just wanted to shout out Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. Again, we mentioned that movie didn't get any nominations, but she was kind of in that bubble of maybe getting in there. Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl. Fine that she didn't get nominated. Haven't seen it, and I feel bad saying that because I haven't seen it, but I'm okay not seeing it.
I haven't seen it, and I'm happy I don't have to see it. Thank you, Oscars.
Angelina Jolie, who I feel like came on really early in the season of like, ooh, Pablo Larraín, another historical kind of biopic about this woman. And I think she just kind of lost a little bit of ground as some of these other movies came out. And then Pamela Anderson, we mentioned The Last Showgirl getting shouted as well. She, to me, felt like the one that was battling with Fernanda Torres for that fifth slot. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, happy to see Demi Moore in here because she's incredible. Like I said, her speech at the Globes was incredible. To me, it feels like it's between her and Mikey Madison, and I would love to see Demi Moore get it. Great comeback story.
Mm-hmm. I again haven't seen I'm Still Here. I'm very excited. Just that movie is blown up on my radar in the past like week out of nowhere, I feel like, so I'm excited to sit down and watch it. I love The Substance so much, and Demi Moore's performance is so just at the forefront of why I love that movie so much. So for her to get nominated for this film is awesome. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked is just a powerhouse. For me, again, this is another one of the few of the fucking 13 nominations for Emilia Perez where I'm like fine with it. Not only am I fine with it, I actually kind of want Carla Sofia Gascon to win. I loved her performance in Emilia Perez. If she won, I'd be ecstatic. I would fucking die. I would be so happy. Mikey Madison, I feel like, is kind of the front runner for Honora, while her character fucking annoyed the shit out of me in scenes and also devastated me in scenes. So, you know what? I think she does give a great performance. While her character doesn't necessarily work for me all the time, she does give a spectacular performance. I did see The Last Showgirl, so to speak to Pamela Anderson's performance, it is great. I did mention before, it is a good performance. I just don't necessarily think it deserves to be in like this top 5 area. So I'm fine with her being excluded. And once I see Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here, I'm really excited for that. I'm excited to kind of see how that shapes up for the rest of the year. Again, kind of hoping for that Carla Sofia Gascon, though.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll probably kill myself if that happens.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, I probably, this podcast won't exist after March 2nd or whatever.
It'll just
the Oscar
be
day
me
is.
posting updates.
Yep, it'll just be you if that happens. I don't think it'll happen, so we can live on and have another year of podcast stuff. But all right, we've made it through all of the categories up to Best Picture. This is the big one. The nominees are Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. For me, going into this, there was kind of like 7 or 8 movies that I felt pretty confident in that were going to get nominated. The 2 that are surprising for me here are I'm Still Here and Nickel Boys. Those were kind of like the bubble ones that can maybe be swapped out. I'm Still Here. Obviously, a lot of love. Fernanda Torres getting the actress nomination. And then Nickel Boys as well, kind of sneaking in there. Sing Sing, missing out. This is the biggest disappointment of the nominations for me. Sing Sing is, I think, well, Dune 2 is my favorite movie from last year, as we talked about before, but I think Sing Sing is the best movie from last year. I don't think that movie has a single flaw. I think it is such a personal and emotional story. It's the movie that made me feel the most emotion last year. I don't understand how this movie is not nominated. And again, it goes back to A24's release strategy for this movie and their awards campaign. But a couple other ones that were in contention kind of on that bubble were A Real Pain and September 5th, which, again, with September 5th's release was kind of botched a bit. But, yeah, overall, I feel conflicted about these top 10. I mean, I haven't, both of us haven't seen 2 of these, so that factors into it. But Emilia Perez and Honora, I don't like those movies, and it's been a long time since like multiple Best Picture nominees I just don't like. And then even something like A Complete Unknown, which I really do enjoy that movie. I think it's great, but I don't know that it would. I don't know that it's Best Picture worthy. I think the performances and some of the other technical things it's very deserving of. So it's like a couple of movies in here that I'm like, yeah, that's Best Picture worthy, and I really dig it.
I, not to echo too much of your thoughts on this, but there's movies that I think you could take off of this list. And Sing Sing is one that I would love to put on because that movie is so emotional, and I think it's so criminally underseen, I feel like, in terms of films that came out in 2024. Nickel Boys 2. I'm Still Here. Both movies that you and I haven't seen. I'm excited to watch them and see kind of how they work for me, how they don't work for me. If I'm like, hell yes, they need to be on this list, or fuck it, why are they here? Which I think it's going to be more like, yeah, they deserve to be here just based on what I've heard from both of those films. A gripe that I've kind of developed with the Oscars is this. While I hated it when they were like, you know what, this year 4 Best Picture or 5 Best Picture nominees. Oh, this year it's 7. This year it's 6. I like that they have a consistent number. I do think 10 is a bit much though. I think wind it down to 8 or like 7 because I also would take A Complete Unknown out of this list. I don't think it deserves even that qualification as a Best Picture nominee. I don't think it's that. It hasn't hit that tier for me. I understand Honora. I understand The Brutalist. I understand Conclave. I more than understand Dune Part 2. Not only that fucking better win. I know it will not. I know I am just set up and doomed for disappointment because I love the best movie made since I've been alive so much, but it's not going to win. What I'm actually starting to get really genuinely scared about is Emilia Perez winning Best Picture? And if it is, it's like Crash winning. It's like fucking Green Book winning or Nomadland. Just like, what are you doing? That was the movie for you. That's what stuck out. I'm thrilled and also not surprised in the least to see Wicked on this list. I am thrilled and surprised to see The Substance on this list. I think that's so cool for the Oscars to include that. And part of me, when I say like, hey, maybe cut it down to 8 or 7 Best Picture noms, the double-edged sword of that is then maybe you lose out on movies like The Substance, where it's like, damn, this movie is so wild. To think that this movie was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars is just, it's otherworldly. Like, it's something that, looking back 5 years, I don't think I would have been able to foresee. But here it is, and we have The Substance. We have a movie that's body horror through and through about just people being completely thrown out because they've aged out of the system. I think it's such a wild movie. Like I said, I understand a lot of these picks. I'm scared to death about Emilia Perez potentially winning this award, just based on the sheer number of nominations, which, Corey, I think now more than ever is the best time for us to talk about it. It was nominated for 13 awards this
Yeah,
Oscar.
13. You said that right. 13.
13. Fucking 13. There are, which is a insane amount of awards for what you would probably reserve for some of the best films ever made. Films, there's only been 3 that were nominated for 14 Oscars. Titanic, your favorite film of all time, La La Land, which I guess you can hold that over me because Godfather didn't get that much, but La La Land was nominated for 14 Oscars. All About Eve, a classic. All these three films, 14 nominations, I would think those are classics of Hollywood. All About Eve, La La Land, Titanic. Those have more than Emilia Perez. Okay, they have more than Emilia Perez. Well, let's go into that party of 13 nominations. Let's see what those are about. Not that I'm going to list every single film that was nominated for 13 Oscars, but just some of them. Gone with the Wind. From Here to Eternity. Forrest Gump. Do you think Emilia Perez, not that it's a one-to-one comparison, but do you think Emilia Perez is as good or as deserving of 13 Oscar nominations as Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring? Oppenheimer? Shape of Water. I'm guessing if you're listening to this and you can sense my tone that I don't think it deserves 13 nominations. Now to go to 12 nominations just to see what Emilia Perez, again, it's not a one-to-one comparison. It depends on what's released each year and what they're competing against. But Emilia Perez has 13 nominations. When you look back 10 years from now at how many movies were nominated for what, it's not going to really matter as to what they competed against. It's just, oh, that number, it's sexy. But 13 nominations for Emilia Perez. 12 nominations for On the Waterfront. One of the best epics ever made in 1959. Ben-Hur had 12 nominations. That's fine. This Netflix film, Emilia Perez, is 13. You know, one of the best directed Steven Spielberg films ever about the Holocaust, about saving humanity. You know that movie Schindler's List? Little movie with 12 nominations? Ah, it's fine. Emilia Perez has 13. One of the best directed action films ever made, with one of the best actors of all time. Gladiator. 12 nominations. Ah, Emilia Perez has 13. That's fine. One of the best written, acted films of the last 20 years. The King's Speech. 12 nominations. Emilia Perez has 13. That's fine. I like Emilia Perez. What the fuck is this? What the fuck are you doing? How can you allow a movie that just does not deserve this amount of love and clout to receive it? It's not, all these movies I've listed, we look back positively on. These films, regardless of whether you like them or not, they're seen as being classics in cinematic history. In 5 years, Emilia Perez will be, aside from the 13 nominations, widely forgotten. This is the biggest, as someone who likes this movie, the biggest heap of bullshit I've ever heard. And if it walks away this Oscars with a win in terms of Best Picture, or maybe, honestly, 11 of the other nominations it was nominated for. I understand the acting ones, but fucking, okay, you're going to say Best Score? All right, kill me. What are you doing? I don't care if you're, like, I don't want to talk about politics on this show. Nor do I think that necessarily has anything really to do with what dictates the amount of nominations. But I need you to explain to me, Academy, how you deducted that this deserved 13 nominations. This is insane.
It's so baffling. This is, again, and I mentioned this when we talked about it, when we did our review a couple weeks ago. Like, I normally don't care about the like outside groups, like how they were represented in this movie, and like that doesn't entirely influence how I feel about the movie. Mm. But when almost every review of this movie is like middling to negative, and then also the groups, like two major groups that are represented in the movie, don't like how it was represented, it seems like the critics and like the kind of voting body for these critics groups in the Academy are the only people that are like championing this movie. And you can see that from the nominations we listed. Every time we fucking listed Amelia Perez in a category, we're like, no, there's two other movies that should have been in there before.
Well, and it's just the confusion. And like I didn't clock it when I listened to the nominations that were listed off earlier this morning. I didn't clock like how many it was banking. But then when you look at that final list, it's like, oh fuck, it got 13? How? Where? What awards? Why? It's baffling, and it's what you were saying. When you watch the film, I think it is important to separate art from artist and to watch that film beginning to end within what's confined into that frame. For the 2 hours plus of that movie, does that movie work for you? The movie worked for me, it didn't work for you. Fine. But if you're a part of the group that this film is trying to represent, and it didn't work for you, then I feel like your word, your statement on the film has a little bit more clout, a little bit more weight to it. Because I'm a white boy from Minnesota, talking about a film that's about transgenders and Mexicans. What am I to say? What logical thing can I share that's going to be earth-shattering or breaking for anyone around the world? Nothing. I'm just a 24-year-old white guy that just wanted to watch a movie on Netflix and was like, oh, well, there's musical components. Oh, penis to vagina. Okay, that's a song here. All right, sweet. Worst song in the movie. I liked other songs. Not that one. And then, again, you have to separate art from artists. But for the thing that kind of gets me the most is that for international feature, you talked about this too when we talked about Amelia Perez initially on our podcast, is that it's made by a majority French production. To see this film that has such a Spanish influence, a story about Mexican culture, a story about a Mexican issue in Mexico, about people basically being deleted. Lost. Cartels just absolutely taking people off the map. No explanation. A real issue. Oh, it's a French white dude talking about it. Coming from a white guy, that's fucked up. And if a white guy's saying that, that's fucked up. I like this movie. Fuck this movie. Not this. The way this film has been represented throughout this Oscar nomination kind of layout has made this film a villain to me, even if I like it. It's hard to defend.
Even just thinking back to last year, I was looking at the Best Picture nominees, and like my least favorite movie of the Best Picture nominees last year was Barbie, which is still really fun.
I love that movie.
But like you look back, and I was just like reading through the nominees again just to refresh, and I was like, Oppenheimer, Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest, Killers of the Flower Moon, American Fiction, The Holdovers. Like, you just almost every movie from last year in Best Picture just hit for me. Mm-hmm. And going back to other years too, it's just like the majority of them work.
This felt like 2020, like their Best Picture slot.
And it's really weird because I feel like we, maybe in part have been negative on some of the nominations, mainly for Amelia Perez and Honora and whatever, but like there are still things that I'm very excited about. I think we're both very excited about in the nominations, and it's just like a movie or two that are kind of like tainting some of these categories just for our own personal taste. But like overall, I think I would say I'm fairly happy, which is a weird thing to say because it's like Amelia Perez and Honora being there makes me just angry. Mm-hmm. But then it's like that's 2/10 of the Best Picture nominees, or that's like 1/5 of the other nominees. And it's like I'm happy to see so many other people nominated and appreciating their work. And, we mentioned earlier just like seeing Alien Romulus pop up. Like just things that I was like, that's awesome. That's great.
There's a decent amount of genre love with The Substance.
Yeah. Nosferatu.
Which we were both surprised by. I don't think anyone really expected it to get that. Like 4 nominations is a pretty decent amount for an Oscar film, or for a film nominated at Oscars. But just like a movie that, to me, came under the radar. It came just out of nowhere. It was just a horror film. Oh, it's getting love in terms of like cinematography and shit. All right, sweet. If it were up to you, I kind of want to pose this question to you. So, if they were to cut it down to 8, let's say for Best Picture, I'm going to remove I'm Still Here and Nickel Boys because you and I both haven't seen those. So instead, cut the remainder of those films down to 6. So now if you take out I'm Still Here and you take out Nickel Boys, you have 8 slots. Cut it to 6. What 2 movies are you getting rid of?
I mean, for me, I think it's clear it's Amelia Perez and Nora. And then I would substitute A Complete Unknown for Sing Sing. If I could just have it my way.
Well, okay. You're saying, all right, well, mix and match
but,
a little bit.
Just Amelia Perez and Nora, I'd get rid of those 2.
I would 100% get rid of Amelia Perez in terms of Best Picture, and I would get rid of A Complete Unknown. Which we overlap. I get your grievance with A Complete Unknown, and I agree. And I also agree with your grievance on Anora. But I feel like that film is that movie, whether we like it or not, that's going to win a lot of awards.
For sure.
Which, I like the film a decent amount. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people say. And it's flawed that people don't really look to recognize. But anyway, it's all subjective. These are a list of awards based on opinions and thoughts that people somewhat were able to agree on. So overall, I was pretty excited watching the release of these awards earlier this morning. Corey, are there any other snubs, thoughts in terms of the 2025 Oscar nominations that we have to look forward to for the March show of the 2025 Oscars?
Man, I think we've covered a lot of stuff. We really went through everything here. Yeah, I mean, just to go back, like I think Sing Sing being left out, and September 5th, I'll kind of include both of those, of not being nominated in more categories was disappointing. But I like I said, I was fairly happy with, like, if I were to like go through each nominee and be like, am I happy with that? I think a majority would be yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even though we are upset at some of it and just some of the Academy and what their thought process is, we still love this. Like, the Oscars is our favorite day of the year, and like Oscar nomination morning is probably like our second favorite day of the year.
I have to say that this is the third, and Oscars are my second because now I'm married, so my wedding anniversary, I feel like to save face and kiss ass has to be my favorite day of the year. But for the rest of my life, for the first 23 years of my life, the Oscars has been always, without a doubt, my favorite day of the year, and I'm excited to watch the rest of these movies, catch up on stuff that I haven't seen, especially those shorts that I feel like I always miss out on every year. I want to make sure I incorporate those into my homework for this upcoming before this upcoming show, and try and just go in having seen everything, so I can actively this for me. And when it comes to like picking my making my Oscar picks, I try to shut out as much of the award stuff as possible and just be like, for me right now, this is what's winning. And then the show will start and you're like, that one's wrong. And it hasn't even aired on the show and you're like, that one's definitely wrong. You're like, this is not winning. So I can't wait. I love doing that. I love this time of year, getting the nominations. And this is like the closest to Kid on Christmas morning I get now in terms of days of my life, is getting the Oscar nominations in the morning. And I can't wait. I think it was a well put together reading of the nominees for the most part. I can't wait.
It's very unpredictable this year in a lot of big categories, which we don't often get. So, especially in Best Picture, a lot of times we kind of know what the frontrunner is. So,
and I think you won last year in terms of our ballots. I think you beat me.
And I think the year before you won, which I think that's like the 2 years we've done like head to head exclusively.
So this is like the tiebreaker, and it's like maybe the hardest year of the last 3.
So it'll be fun. Like I said earlier, we'll definitely put out Oscar predictions probably like a couple days before the awards ceremony. Just need a little bit more time to sit with some of these movies and see some of these movies. But very excited to do that, and very excited to beat you in that competition.
Oh yeah, honestly, I'm not confident enough to like combat that point. So like whatever. The best I've ever done was, I think, 2019. I got only one wrong, and it was Parasite winning Best Picture, just because I didn't think it had, like, I wanted it to. I didn't think it would, and then it won. I was like, fuck, I was so close.
You picked 1917?
Yes!
Yep,
I was like,
too.
I'm so close! And then I picked 1917, and then I was like, God damn it! But anyway, we've talked for far too long. Our wine is gone. I'm hoping that you guys were drinking. If you're listening, I'm hoping you were sufficiently drunk. Thank you for sitting and listening to us just yap about fucking movies, especially about an award show that doesn't matter. Up to you. Don't really care what you think. I love this award show. But in terms of this kind of special episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, thank you for sitting down with us. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and also on TikTok. I know Corey's getting that up and rolling with some reviews in terms of more recent 2025 movies that are coming out. Be sure to check up on new movie news and reviews that we've been posting, and subscribe to our podcast if you will. Please do. We're trying our best. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater. Corey, I'm lucky for the past 13 years to be able to sit in theaters with you, and I can't wait moving into 2025 also to watch this Oscars with you, probably at my mom's house in our basement, drinking wine with maybe my mom and your mom too. It'll be a great time. But from Corey and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.